Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi Live Noding. In this episode, we're gonna do something that's pretty simple, but I think it's pretty cool. It's gonna involve Blender dynamic paint features. So you have like a canvas and like a paint, but we're gonna use it in a way that you might not have thought of before. And in the end, I will also use I think I will use animation nodes to do this just for simplicity. So we're gonna start with a monkey head, just a simple monkey head, and then we're gonna subdivide it once. I'm gonna maybe I don't apply the subdivision. I just leave it like that, just in case I wanna increase the subdivision or decrease it. And on top of that, I'll add dynamic paint and turn this monkey head into a canvas. And I will be painting the weight, so I'm gonna switch the weighting paint for the canvas, and then the output is gonna be this DP weight. So we have that setup for the canvas. This is like the most basic setup, and you can see in the modifier we have subdivisions and then the dynamic paint. Don't make sure they are not like make sure they're in the proper order, not the other way around. And I'll save this. So this is animation nodes and then dynamic paint masking. And the next thing I will do is I'll create a brush. This is gonna be our dynamic paint brush. So I'm gonna switch it into turn on the dynamic paint and switch this to brush. And I'm gonna turn on the mesh volume and proximity. So you can see already that the brush is actually working, and it's working in real time. It's interactive. And for the brush itself, I want to maybe turn on the wire view only, so it doesn't actually show up. It's just showing up as a wire. And for this, I will also subdivide. And for the subdivisions, I'll make sure this is like before the dynamic paint for the brush. So now this is correct. So you can see the effects. If you have if you just make like a duplicate of it, you can create a multiple brush. So that's cool. The next thing I will do is to use the mask feature. So Blender modifier has mask feature, and this is probably something that can be easily overlooked. If you turn that on and then just use the DP weight, you will see that our paint weighting from dynamic paint is actually transferring. So that's really cool actually. I'll actually increase Suzanne more and refresh the simulation. We can actually have quite high resolution, so it's up to you, low or res. I will not use multiple brush yet, so for now I'm just gonna use a single brush. But what you can do now, if I save this again, if I run the simulations, this is the brush outside. If I run the simulations and then just animating the brush that way, it's kind of revealing the monkey head a little bit by a little bit. And yeah, that can be really useful. You can actually do the opposite as well, if I'm not wrong. There is like the invert somewhere. I think this is the invert. Okay, see, this one actually will erase. This one will erase the monkey head a little bit by a little bit. So that's if that's what you want, you can turn on that invert. Okay, so we have this guy, and we can just animate and kind of reveal the monkey head that way. But now let's say if we go to compositing and turn on animation nodes. And with animation nodes, we can use object transform and select our brush objects, turn it on, and here I will turn off always and turn on others. And I want to try some kind of wiggle animations. I'll use vector wiggle, plug into the locations, and I'll use the frame number, plug into the evolutions. And what's gonna happen now, if I run the playback, you see the brush will move by itself and then kind of doing this reveal. it's a pretty simplistic, but I think it's really cool effect, and you can perhaps make the brush a bit smaller as well, so it's revealing a little bit slower, and I'll make the speed of this animation a little bit faster. So let's try again in maybe in full screen. So animation nodes is now doing the painting, and it's kind of revealing the monkey a little bit by a little bit. Maybe I should increase a little bit more, but let me check the simulations setup. Currently we only have 250. I'll increase the brush size. I'll increase the simulation frame to 2000. This is actually in here, and let's test it. So that's what the wiggle is doing. There you go. So what's going on is I think with the mask effects, whenever we are painting and then we are getting like a vertex paint weight that's over 0.5, it's gonna refill the face. So this is what this guy is doing procedurally. So I guess this can be even more interesting if we have multiple of the brush. So I'm gonna save this, and I'll have another more complex setup. So instead of a single brush, I will have a multiple brush. So this is a single brush, right? And we're gonna use object instancer, and I'll make 5. I'll get the brush, this brush. Copy full objects, make I don't know, maybe just 5 for now, or 6, and I will animate all these brushes using this setup right here, and I'll put the index into the seed, so now the brush have a different animations for all of them. So let's have a look. The objects needs to be plugged in there. So now we see it's as if all this little brush is kind of doing the animations. I can actually hide the original cube, the original brush here. We can have maybe 12 of these balls, and if we switch to 3D view full, and then I'll have the timeline over here. Start from scratch. See it's almost, you can see some kind of build up, and even though the motion of the brush are pretty random, you will see that eventually it covers all the monkey. Okay, let's do it again. I was thinking that maybe these effects can also be more interesting if currently we just have the monkey head. Imagine if you have like a human character, and with a human character, of course, you have arm, legs, and whatever, and then you can do some kind of reveal, maybe starting from the hands, kind of revealing the whole part of the body. This is probably more kind of more sophisticated effects, where the brush is kind of traveling to the body, maybe either revealing or kind of hiding all the parts. We will see. It can be interesting kind of effects to try. So again, with this little brush ball, we can actually control the scale as well, make it a bit smaller, you know, and then also make a little bit more, 24 of them. I double the numbers, and look at it again in full screen. There you go. So that's kind of interesting looking effects. So I'm gonna smooth these, and maybe on top of this I can also add like a solidify, so add some kind of thickness and give it a I don't know if matcap works on top of this. Matcap should actually work on top of this coloring, I think. But anyhow, that's what we have. I'm gonna take a screenshot of this. Okay, so that's a pretty quick setup you can do using dynamic paints of Blender feature, and then also animation nodes to do this random, kind of like a random painting of the monkey. I think it's very cool. Hopefully you enjoy this. If you have any question, suggestion, or feedback, just let me know, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.